Hi, I'm Nico Berezin, the founder of Perform with Pleasure. In this video, I will cover how you can buffer yourself and your loved ones against the negative effects of crisis and negativity. But why is that important? Well, a lot of people think that negativity, focusing on what is wrong, can help us survive, can help us to thrive. But sadly enough, this is not really evidence-based. It's an idea that we have that has been installed from a very young age. Because when we go to school, what gets attention? Not the 7 or 8 things that we did right, no, the 2 things that we did wrong. And so we think this is the way to grow. But research is showing time and time again that the opposite might be true. That focusing on the positive helps you to create solutions. And it's very logical. Why? Because when you're anxious, when you're focusing on all the negative things, your fight or flight response gets activated. And what happens when we are busy with surviving, our attention span narrows. We look to things through, well, one specific limited lens. And so we get tunnel vision and we miss all the opportunities, all the possibilities that can help us not only out but also above the crisis that we have. So how will we do this? Well, we can look to scientific research. When I was a young, a graduate student, I was working on a PhD, and I didn't finish it because the academic world is a bit slow for me. However, I learned a lot about well-being, quality of life, and happiness. And so one of the most interesting findings that I found in the literature was what I call the well-being paradox, where you could see a strange effect, where people that lived in very dire circumstances, people that had high mortality rates, bad health or non-existent healthcare systems, that had lost children, that live in pretty violent places, they were often happier than people who on the surface had everything. They were rich, they were healthy, they had a family. On paper they had it all, but they didn't feel the same well-being, the same happiness as the people on the bottom of the scale. So what was happening there? Well, to understand this, I went even deeper into the literature, and there are 3 things that divide the 2 groups: the people who have it all but feel they have nothing, and the people who have nothing but feel they have it all. And there are 3 things. They are the social support that they have, the gratefulness, and the focus on the now. So let's start with the beginning. Let's talk a little bit about social support, community. And to do that, we really have to go back in time, because for most of our history, humans lived in tribes, which were pretty close-knit communities where everybody was depending on one another, where there was this close proximity, where there was a lot of effort that went through, building the tribe, building the connections, making them very important. Why? Well, in the wild, a human in itself is pretty vulnerable compared to tigers, to buffaloes, to all those other things. But our combined efforts and our combined brain powers, they helped us to, sadly enough, conquer and destroy the earth in a bit, but also to thrive. So what happened was the following: because we need to work together to survive, because when there is a tiger, we are better off working together than alone. Because of that, our bodies programmed us, evolved in such a way that, so close social connections help us to calm down. So for example, whenever you have a stressful situation, a social situation, what happens, what is interesting, not only does your stress hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, or in America epinephrine rise up, no, also oxytocin. And this higher oxytocin helps you to, quite frankly, connect with other people. And then what happens when you have those higher levels and you are able to connect deeply with other people, to feel your belonging to a tribe, then your adrenaline and your cortisol levels, your heart rate starts to lower a little bit, because you together with the other people have a much higher chance on survival. And so in communities where the lives of the people are much more fragile, where mortality, where the fragility of health is much more salient, it is as if a switch gets turned that tells people, pay attention, because tomorrow is not promised. Tomorrow you or your loved ones could be gone. So please enjoy from this particular moment. Be grateful for what you have and don't be ungrateful for what you don't have. So that is one of the most important things. Learn how to be grateful for what you have. And we don't have to go living into very dire circumstances. No, we can start to reprogram our subconscious mind, reprogram our reticular activation system, which is the organ in our brains that selects what we notice in our environment and what we don't. We can program this by writing a gratefulness journal. Because if you have such a gratefulness journal, every night we sit down, we go in our minds behind the entire day and we write down at least 3 things that we're grateful for. And it can be something very small, like a little bird that woke you up in the morning, or something really big, like finding the cure for COVID-19, or, well, getting a yes when you propose to your lady or your man. So, regardless if it is small or big, I want you every night to take time to go over your day and look for satisfying moments, for moments that enrich your life. Because like that, again, you're programming your mind to find things to be grateful for. And this gives you a strong buffer. Even if things go very badly, when you have the habit of looking and finding things to be grateful for, it balances out the negative effects of our crisis. Now, so we have social support that helps us lower our nervous system. We have gratefulness that we can do by journaling. But then we also have to focus on the now. And that's something that people in very poor circumstances very often have more. And then I hear some people say, well, people there, they don't have money because they're lazy. But they misunderstand. They misunderstand. And I will give an example of one of my uncles. My uncle Jean, he travels a lot around the world. And at a certain moment he came in Africa. He was in the harbor drinking a coffee. And he saw a worker loading off things on the dock. And after he put 12 bags of rice on the surface, he lay down. And my uncle was stupefied because he only worked 1 hour. And so he went to ask this guy, like, why do you stop working? He's like, and this guy laughed and said, well, because I earned enough money to take care of myself and my family today. But then my uncle was like, but why don't you do it the entire day? You could live the entire life. And if you do it for a couple of days or a couple of months, you can even have your own company. Later you will pluck the fruits of your labor. And he said, yeah, but who says that tomorrow me or the people I love are still alive? In that moment, it is very clear that those people are not lazy. They are just very efficient with their time. They realize that now is the moment to enjoy. And so I don't want you to not do anything and just think, mañana, if I'm still alive. No, I want you to take into account every moment and focus, enjoy it as much as you can, because they are right. Life is very fragile. So if you like this, please share, comment, or share with your friends, and stay tuned because tomorrow I have another beautiful video for you.